Hi everyone, welcome to our session. I know we are one session away from being finished with COABE. Has everybody had a good conference so far? All right, we don't want a stuffy room where I'm just going to stand up here and talk to you. So we're going to make this a little bit interactive because I know it's right after lunch, so we're, not that I'm going to get you up and move, and I'm not going to dance, that's just not who I am, but welcome to this session. This is part of my job. This is my passion, doing these kind of things, not the conference stuff, but doing cross trainings with WIOA partners is something that I'm really passionate about, and I really enjoy this part of my job. So today, navigating the crossroads of education and workforce development, and welcome to you online too. I apologize, I've got Marcella that's going to help me, and we'll try and stay on track with anything that's in the chat. All right. I am Loretta Liniger. I come to you from Pennsylvania. I work for the Institute for the Study of Adult Literacy at Penn State University. My role is a workforce development specialist. It sounds like a really important role, right? I primarily work with adult ed administrators across the state. So we work on things like career pathways, making sure that they're integrated into the workforce system, and doing lots of cross-training, and anything that the administrator needs, I'm kind of would try to answer their questions. But we are not the state. Like, we do not, how do I want to say it? We're not compliance. So it's easier to build the rapport with those administrators because I'm not telling them what they have to do. I'm just giving suggestions for technical assistance kind of thing. And with me I have...
Hi everyone. Let me stand over here for those of you online. I'm Marcella Movitt. So nice to see all of you. I'm the director for the Goodling Institute for Research and Family Literacy and the Institute for the Study of Adult Literacy at Penn State. My job is super easy because I have Loretta and the team of people that she works with doing this kind of training all over, and I just have to review, which makes it really easy, and I can pretend like I know things, but really they're the content experts. So glad you decided to join this meeting today.
So today, some of the objectives that we're going to look at are just defining co-enrollment and understanding the key stakeholders within the WIOA, within the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. Identify the expectation versus experience that the students, your adult learners, might see. Discuss some practical strategies to improve those referrals, the alignment, and the shared service delivery, and then explore some different tools and approaches that we've used within our workforce regions in Pennsylvania to strengthen that collaboration. So we just have a small icebreaker. What paper? No, I thought this was where we were going to do the understanding.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, no, that's great. Sorry. Okay. So we want to hear from all of you. Again, I know that it's after lunch. You're all feeling a little sluggish. So like Loretta said, we won't make you stand up. Although if you would like to stand up and stretch, highly encourage it for getting your blood circulating. We want to ask you how comfortable you are with some of the things that we'll be talking about, because if you have no knowledge at all, then we want to make sure that we cover the basics as well. But if you're experts, then we want to invite you up here to do the rest of the presentation, and we'll go sit down. So just a couple of quick questions, and we're going to do a fist to 5. So a 0, a fist, is I have no knowledge, I don't know what language you're speaking, that I've never heard of that before. And a 5 means move out of the way, I'm getting up there, I'm doing this presentation. Okay, so the first question is, how comfortable do you feel in your understanding of WIOA? 0 is, we what?
We've got 2, so we've got 3 and 4. Awesome.
Okay.
Nobody's giving us a 5.
No.
There's a caveat of what's coming down the pipe.
And for those of you online who didn't hear the question, or someone said that the caveat for the score that they gave was a question of what's coming up down the pike. And for anyone who, and I'll check the scores online in just a moment, for anyone who said a 0, WIOA is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunities Act. It's a legislation that governs adult education. Now the second question is, again, fist to 5, not at all in a 5 is move. How comfortable do you feel in your understanding of co-enrollment? If you see people are a little shy, keeping their hands down a little bit. Okay, so it's interesting to see that our scores have changed. I don't know, I didn't really track, but it seems like people have different comfort levels with each of these. No worries, we will get you up to speed on these. All right.
Okay, so we're going to define co-enrollment. And co-enrollment is a coordinated approach where an individual is co-enrolled in more than one, or at least receives services supported by more than one partner to meet the goals more effectively. And what does that mean, right? So I learned a lot about this as I've grown professionally. When I first started out in adult ed, let me back up. Before I was even into adult ed, I worked as a Title I youth coordinator. So I worked in the Title I programs, and I helped individuals get into just some summer jobs, looking at their work experience. Most of them were in-school youth. Some of them were out-of-school youth. But whenever they would come in, we always had to give them the TABE assessment. We had to find out what grade level they were at, right? So some of them were lacking in math because they're still in high school, and I'm over here going, oh, okay, we'll put them into math class. And the Title II person's over here going, send them to me. And I'm like, nah, I got it. And when I finished out that job, and then I took another job with Title II as an adult ed instructor, and I was like, wait a minute, why did I not send my individuals over to the Title II instructor? Because that's their area of expertise. I was just helping them with some summer jobs. She could have very easily helped them with bringing up their math scores while I was still working with them. So as I developed more into my job with Title II, I was like, why are we not working closer with this Title I program, especially the youth program, right? We have a lot of individuals that are coming into that Title I program as a youth that do not have a high school diploma, and they're sending them over to Title II sometimes for their high school equivalency diploma, but a lot of times I'm like, send them all over here because they all need some basic skills of some kind to move into that post-secondary education, to move into their first job, to obtain their high school equivalency. So we started really making more of an asserted effort to making sure that those individuals were co-enrolled. And we did that in my office, but the office next door was like, they're not stealing my customers. How many hear that? How many hear they're not stealing my customers, right? Well, we're not stealing. We're all in it for the same thing, right? We have common measures, and we'll get to those a little bit later. But really being co-enrolled would be really actively doing services in both programs at the same time. Who are some of those core partners? And this is just going over Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. Title I, they have a youth program, they have an adult program, they have a dislocated worker program. So there's 3 different funding sources within Title I under WIOA. Title II, Adult Basic Education, you were all familiar with that. And then Title III is Wagner-Pizer. In our state, we call them the state staff. They're usually in our state those individuals that are in those jobs forever and never retire. Right? You guys are laughing. You know exactly what I'm talking about. They're in those jobs forever, and they're not individuals who will want to think outside the box. Right? They're just going to do the same old that they've always done. And then Title IV, we have the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. And sometimes they're a tougher group to get into co-enrollment with, but we have developed ways in Pennsylvania to really find out who that person is that we need to be working with and getting them on our team. Any questions on any of these? All right. So this one here, education, the expectation versus the experience for our student. And that's one thing that we always want to make sure of. Are we creating anything additional for our students? It's already very tough for them to come into our classes, right? So when we want to try and get them co-enrolled, we don't want to make it more difficult for them, although sometimes there's things that we can't control, right? So education plus employment is going to meet the needs at the same time. We think that's pretty easy, right? But for the students, that's not the easiest thing to do. So they think that they have to repeat the same story over and over again, right? They're telling me and then they're going over to the next program and they have to tell them the same thing. They may not be as reluctant to tell the next program their story again. So that's where the communication between those two programs is going to be key. There's multiple systems, intakes, eligibility, the rules. How many of you in your state with your Title I programs is the same as your Title II programs? Because it's not in Pennsylvania. The systems, that they do not talk. So our system of record is completely different than the system of record of Title I. Title I, III, and IV, to be honest with you. So we're kind of out there on our own. So our systems don't talk to their systems, which makes it seems like the students getting bounced around from one agency to the next because they have to give that same information they gave us, or our program may not require certain information that the next program does. So it's really making sure that those students understand what they're needing. They're confused where to start, right? We're going to do an activity in a little bit, and you all may have a different idea of where to start our individual, but there is no right or wrong answer on where they start. It's wherever the student wants to start, right? We want to look at a more customer-centered approach when we're doing this to make sure our customers are meeting the needs that they're after. We don't want them to lose momentum if we refer them to another program, right? We want them to continue down the path that we are setting out for them. We want to make sure that there may be delays in training or progress because the students may be missing those opportunities. We just want to make sure that we're looking at all of those boxes whenever we're pushing them down that path. All right. So now we have a little Padlet game.
All right. So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Padlet. You might be familiar with Padlet. They now have Padlet Arcade, which is a super fun platform where you can put together information and create like games for. It's a really fun way of doing a formative assessment for your students. So on the screen, there's the QR code. For those of you who are online and watching on your phone, I apologize. You can just sit tight and enjoy a little break. But for those of you who have your phone and can scan the QR code, we have just an activity to warm up, help us think about. Oh, I don't know if we have the.
If I reduce this. This is the.
Go back to Zoom. Yep. Oh, no, that's not right.
Is that not it?
No, it's on my computer.
Okay. Oh, because it has to go through. All right.
Sorry.
Sorry.
No.
Go ahead and keep going. I'll go back to that.
No. Here. Okay. So I think you should be able to just drag, if you're on your phone, you can drag all the things. If you're on your computer, it's a little different. Oh, no. I got it. Thank you. Everyone here is hard at work. I appreciate it. Yeah, we can do a different share. Hold on a second. Yeah. Oh. All right, we have one person who submitted. So Jane so far is our leader on our leaderboard. Congratulations, Jane. Oh, and I'm sorry, Jane. Rachel just dethroned you as our leader.
Jonathan's smiling over there.
You're currently in third place, Jonathan. All right, we'll give you maybe 30 more seconds. Just, again, this is just sort of see where we all are as we get started.
Oh, Tony's in the lead. I can't see it.
And it's okay. We're all winners here, so no worries if you're not sure. You can just hit submit. Oh, lots of scores or lots of answers coming in. Right now, Tony is killing it. Still winning. All right. You can finish playing, but I am going to show the answers. So if you submit your scores after this, it is a little cheating, but that's okay. Totally fine. So again, just for those of you who teach or who do presentations, I just wanted to share this as like a fun way to check what your students or your audience knows in a way that's a little bit more engaging than some other options. And you can use AI for it, which also is always looking for ways to do that in a useful way. So these are some ways that we can address some of the barriers that our students commonly face. Partnering with other people. So a lot of our students face issues with transportation, right? When you're looking at, we're looking at our program to provide face-to-face, a face-to-face location for our family literacy program. And we're trying to figure out where to do that. We have a location in our office where we could do it, but parking is kind of annoying and a challenge. So we're like, oh, we don't want to do that. But so, and the bus comes, but maybe not as often as we'd like. So what are we going to do? So again, transportation, we can partner with our Title I partner. We could work with the WDB or community-based organizations, or we could work with employers to find out, how maybe they're able to provide supports. With employers, we can reduce that barrier if we have the training, say, at their location, and our learners are already there. Then they just need to walk next door or down the hall, and that reduces that barrier. Looking at childcare, that's a really common one that a lot of people face because their learners want to come to class, but they can't because, what are you going to do with your children? In our program, one of the things that we've done is we've done a lot of things online so that, in theory, their children can be in the background doing whatever it is that they need to do. But probably better solutions include partnering with early learning resource centers, working with Title I, Title III, community providers, and even Head Start. And I think there have been a few sessions where people have presented ways that they're partnering with those kinds of organizations. We also have food insecurities is a huge issue. If our students are hungry, they're not going to be able to come to class and focus. So we could work with SNAP, community food banks, and Title I partners. If our students are really struggling with their employment history, or they don't have the employment skills that they want, working or connecting with Title II with Title I, and apprenticeship programs and employers. And then the education piece, again, comes from Title II. That's what we're providing. But also IETs are a great option. We can work with post-secondary and training providers. Or, again, another underused resource is OVR, or the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. Does anybody partner with OVR at all? No? Okay. Maybe. No. Okay. All right, no worries. Just some ideas of things that you might want to try.
Before we go to the next one, is there anybody that's partnering with anybody different that we may not have mentioned for some of those barrier reduction strategies? No? It's okay. So we talked a little bit about before that we're all in this for the same goal, right? We all have the same goal with our students. And these are the common performance measures through WIOA. Second quarter employment after the second quarter after exit, employment fourth quarter after exit, credential attainment rate, measurable skills gains, median earnings, and then effectiveness to serving employers. Now, some of those we really can't track, right? Some of them are data matches a year after the student has left our program. But how can we ensure that they've been employed or they're on that path to employment when they go to leave our programs? I know with Title II, we don't have a follow-up requirement, but our Title I program does. So when I was teaching adult ed, one of the things I would make sure I did was I knew when Johnny left my program and went over to Title I, they were going to follow Johnny for a year. So I could check in to make sure that Johnny was still employed, or if he wasn't, I could reach out to him and say, hey, what's going on? I heard you didn't, that last job didn't work out for you. Is there something that you could come back through, some other skills that you might need to go into a different kind of a position? So that kind of led Johnny to come back into the office, or partners like Title I maybe has incentives that they could offer the student for checking in with them. I know that came in really handy with some of our Title II students, that they would, Title I would give them an incentive for coming back in. The credential attainment rate, obviously the increase of their obtaining their high school diploma, going into post-secondary education, things like that. Those measurable skills gains. I don't know if has anybody ever attended a workforce development board meeting in your region? Yeah? How many times do they talk about measurable skill gains? And maybe some of the partner programs aren't making those gains. And I'm like, send them our way, right? You know, if they're not partnering with you as Title II and they're not making their gains, why? And one of the common things that I would hear would be, well, we get those gains, we just don't record them. Well, if they're not recorded, they're not happening, right? Are you not recording them because they're not happening, or are you just not forgetting, you're just forgetting to record them? So those are things, you know, when you do work with individuals from your workforce development board, you know, hey, we provide measurable skills gain. We can help them with these different measures to try and increase your measurable skills gains in your regions. Any questions on any of those?
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering, especially for the people who said zeros before, I want to do a pulse check. How are you feeling about WIOA and those requirements? This is like a crash course, but maybe we got you from a 0 to a 1. Okay, I'm seeing some nodding heads. I don't have the chat in front of me, so I'm hopeful that those of you who are online also are feeling a little bit like we're maybe 0.5. We'll that's any move in the right direction is a good one. So when we say that we're working together or partnering with them, it's really important to think about, you know, what are the benefits? If we're going to go to all this trouble to do it, what are we getting out of it? And it's not just about what we're getting out of it, but really with all things Adult Ed, our focus is on our learners and what they're getting out of it. So I want to start with them. So for them, Loretta shared earlier some of the challenges and with the expectations versus the reality of what it's like. And so when we work together, could you imagine having them only have to tell their story once and having to complete paperwork once? It's hard enough for them to do it that one time, not having to repeat and do it multiple times. I think that would reduce one of those barriers for sure. Having a more streamlined experience rather than the back and forth, having the momentum keep going, where they are not experiencing like, oh, I'm here and then you want me to do what? And it gives them lots of opportunities for training and receiving the supportive services they need. But, you know, also for us, selfishly, we want to know what's in it for us, right? That's what people often ask. We're making sure that we're not adding extra steps. It's not extra work. Our staff I think would appreciate that, right? Not having to do an intake form here if one already exists. I always talk about not needing to reinvent the wheel. So reducing duplication of our efforts. It gives us shared responsibility, and it makes us feel like we're all working together towards a common goal, which means that all of us are going to work a little bit harder to push our students forward. And then it also makes the system a little easier for our students, which I know makes everybody feel good. All right, so we have an activity, and I just want to make sure here, you run the activity, I'll make sure, does anybody need a handout that is in the room? No, everybody has one, okay.
Okay, so we're going to do an activity, and I'm going to, for you on the Zoom, we will put the Padlet link into the chat. I'll get you the Padlet link, and then you'll be able to access that. And that QR code on that first page, I didn't even tell you guys that half sheet that you have, that code gives you the Padlet. And every resource that we're going to share today, even our PowerPoint presentation, is on there. So you'll be able to go back and look at that. But we're going to break into an activity. So the one sheet that you have is barrier reduction strategies. That second sheet is a scenario. It's a little scenario worksheet. If we could break into little small groups, What we do, when we do a cross-training, we'll do a scenario like this, and we actually break into probably like 3 large groups, and we have a big giant piece of butcher paper, and we walk our scenario through what they would experience coming into one of our programs, and what resources may be out there to help them. So what I did was I kind of shortened it, and I made a little scenario worksheet that questions to maybe ask as you're working with an individual. So we're going to look at Sam. Sam's a 19-year-old that's been sleeping on couches of different friends since he was 17. Sam quit school his senior year and has worked odd jobs for payment under the table since then. He states he has done everything from roofing to drug running. He says he likes to build things, and despite his misdemeanor drug offenses, he claims to be drug-free. Sam has no ID, does not know if he's registered for selective service. He lost his birth certificate and has never received an actual paycheck. So do we see some barriers with Sam? Who has ever seen this Sam come through your program? Everybody's probably raising their head, nodding. Yes, everybody has seen a Sam come through our program. But there's so many resources that are available to Sam, but how do we get him to them? Right? So we're going to go ahead and take a couple minutes. If you want to break up into small groups, or you guys can do it on your own if you want to. But really, being in a group with somebody gets you thinking about other options to start Sam out. But go ahead and read through that, look at some of those questions that I've put onto that worksheet, and then we'll come back together here in a couple minutes. Yeah, absolutely.
Get to know Sam. How did we get introduced to Sam? Did Sam walk in how did Sam, who are we in this exercise?
Well, that's a good question. I guess we've always assumed that Sam's come in through a one-stop and through our office. So in Pennsylvania, we call them PA CareerLink offices, and in other states, they're just one-stops. So I'm assuming Sam has come in through a one-stop to look for services. So I guess if we use that as our, Sam walked in the door, and how can we help him?
Yeah, just like different states, our adult education program is not part of a one-stop center, so it's very good.
Yeah, they're very different in Pennsylvania also. In some of our offices, we do have them co-located. In many of them, they are not, though. Some of them are in community colleges. Some of them, just outside, so. Yeah, so go ahead and take a couple minutes, and we'll come right back. Okay, we've got this really good conversation going on right here, and I'm going to turn the mic over to these ladies, and they're going to solve world problems right now. So can you say what's going on in your area?
Yes. So the law that, whatever bill that was that went into effect in July, which is when I started there, we can no longer accept any students in our program that don't have a real ID. Now, there are some certain visas that are accepted, but not all are. And for instance, we had the developmental ed students under our umbrella, but some of them are international students. We can no longer serve them under our grant either. So we lost like 300 of our students, yet they've raised our targets really high that we're supposed to meet, and have taken away a large chunk of our students that we're allowed to serve. And so, I mean, I don't even understand that. Perora thing, yeah.
We're ignoring it.
Well, I would like to,
Nobody's put their thumbs on it.
yeah.
We have 80% in my one, 80% of our students are multilingual. We don't ask you for that.
Yeah.
When you get to do ISEP or GED, then you have to have one. Other than that, you're here to learn. And
I
we
could
have-
keep this and keep talking.
No,
We have this,
this is
we
wonderful.
also have that support to, like, we're gonna help you connect and get a birth certificate no matter what it takes. And we have bus passes. We do bus passes with grants, but we have a city bus, they call it City Link. And a city in Lewiston, Maine is like 40,000 people, so don't think it's a big city. But we do have those resources.
So I think in Sam's case, when it's talking about him couch surfing, and we see this with that population, they don't have their documents, their parents or guardians have them. And so I would say look for agencies. I know in Dallas there's one that helps homeless people get IDs. So that is an option, just looking at your community-based organizations that already do that. And then also there's a program, and I don't know if it's a national one, but it's called Vote Riders, and they help people get IDs to vote. And so we've referred people to that one as well. And they pay for it and the transportation to get to, this is in Texas. But I think they have them in other states.
We're just 50 miles south of Dallas.
Okay.
But of course, nobody, a lot of our students couldn't get to Dallas.
Yeah, I think they have them all. I know that they have them in several areas in Texas, because what they do is they partner with nonprofit agencies, and then they do the work. They help them get the birth certificate, schedule the appointments. They do all of that. So.
We have a community services program that I bet.
What was that place called?
It was called Vote Riders. I think it's national.
Vote Riders.
But they help people get IDs to vote. But that's okay. They can use them to work.
Well, I mean, you were talking about a real ID. I don't even have a real ID. Like I have my passport, of course, but I don't even have one. But that's very costly for your students. So that's crazy to me. So we'll bring it back around here. But anybody else have any other ideas for where Sam might go? Yeah, hold on 1 second. Let me come back there. No, you're fine.
This might also be a nationwide thing, but I know with Crowder College, we have a partnership with our local job center that is called Youth Build. So this would probably be step 2. The identification would be step number 1. But Youth Build is a program where they get assigned a case manager. They have to be under the age of like 26, I want to say, and then they get incentivized, as in like they get stipends to attend AEL classes that are contextualized to construction training, the NCCER, whatever number of C's and E's that company has, but they get the credentials in construction, and they get paid to do GED, and so it's a good little thing for him. So it might be something to look into with your local job center.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Does anybody else have Youth Build? Because I know in Pennsylvania we have some. I think we have that across. Are they Title I funded in your states? Do you know?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, probably through a Title I program. Yeah. Did anybody think about Sam maybe going to OVR, the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation? And Jonathan's you probably thought that too. So Jonathan is from Pennsylvania, and he is part of our professional development system, and he works with the educators. So he was in one of the trainings that we did with, we did a cross training in his region, and a couple of the participants that came were from OVR. So that was a completely different group of individuals we didn't even think about for Sam, but I'm going to let him talk.
We were talking about that because we were wondering, does OVR help people with substance abuse problems? But we also had mentioned that sometimes there's a long wait list, and that OVR kind of does like a triage as far as who they help, and so that maybe isn't the most reliable. I know when we did that training in Pennsylvania, that one of the big challenges was that they identified was that OVR is not allowed to share a lot of information. So it's like you can refer to them, but it's like a little bit more challenging to go in the reverse.
Yeah, Jonathan, you're absolutely right. We all have our requirements, right? Our state requirements on how we can serve individuals and what our wait lists are. How many adult ed programs across the state have some wait lists right now, right? But OVR is an option that we didn't think about even as facilitators of the cross-training, that may be something Sam could take advantage of. I know, what was it, like 5-6 years ago, OVR had an abundance of money in their programs, but it's changed a lot since then. Oh, look. But anybody else have anything else where they would want to send Sam? She wants to talk. I know she does. Oh, I thought you were going to say something. Yeah, go right ahead.
I don't know, because this is really not, I don't know enough to be talking about this, but, as someone who's just trying to dip my toe into family literacy and trying to, start there, I really want Sam to have housing stability. And I know that adult ed programs can't do that, but we could definitely put people in the right direction of finding, because it's so hard to get anything else stable if you're living, if you don't have a stable place to go and stay. And that's but what we think is best and what the law allows us to do is not always.
You're absolutely right. And just looking at the cycle that Sam is under, right? If we got him housing, he's going to need some kind of an employment. And then does he push off his adult ed, like this gentleman was saying, he pushes off adult ed, or lose them in the adult ed program at the process? So working with those partners and keeping that open line of communication and knowing who to send them to and establishing that baseline partnership and them knowing your program requirements and you understanding their program requirements is so crucial. And that's what we stress to our adult ed programs across the state, is just understanding. Adult ed is not an easy job to do. It is very, very difficult to understand all of the ins and outs that we have to do, but understanding the umbrella of WIOA that we are under is even more difficult. The staff turnover is huge, right? Not only in adult ed programs, but in Title I programs and Title III programs. There's constantly a new staff that you have to figure out who to send your students to, right? So just really breaking it down and making those connections and keeping those connections is, I guess, what I want to say. Anybody else? This was great conversation. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to share what somebody online had said, in case someone in the room is not following along in the chat. They said that they have Youth Build in Indianapolis, and Brandon mentioned the work ones. I don't know if anybody, I think that might be like their one-stop, perhaps. it's called Work Ones. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that, and then Ashley said that she's Ashley's new to the job, and getting the ins and outs is very tricky.
Yeah, thank you all so much for for your feedback with that. Just something to think about, and that's why I kind of created that little worksheet. You can take it back with you, look at it, like these are the students that we're dealing with, and how do we connect them with those other partners? So I'm just going to share some resources that we have in Pennsylvania. A partnership inventory tool is really good. And you can find all of these things on that Padlet that I gave you the QR code to. It will take you, I believe it takes you to our PA Adult Education Resources website. So on the PA, we call it PAIR. On the PAIR website, you're going to find lots and lots and lots of resources. If you go to the Workforce/Career Pathways tab, that is everything that my project is in charge of. And you're going to find resources for regional planning, resources for career pathway building, resources for, we call it student support coordinator. So there's different resources that our student support coordinators use. So you'll find that there. But this partnership inventory tool, we have some of our administrators complete this tool to look at the partnerships that they currently have. Are there any gaps that you're seeing that we mentioned housing. Housing is a big one. Sometimes we don't know who the housing programs are or how we get into them. They have extreme long wait lists in our area. So are there any other housing resources out there? It's just a tool to jot them down. You know, you're looking at the type of partnership that you have, the purpose of that, and how we can make it a little bit stronger. Another one is workforce staff training. This workforce staff training is a tool that we use in Pennsylvania, and right now there are 2 courses on the workforce staff training. You could use these in any state. It is an online, on-demand course, 2 courses. But the very first one is Introduction to the PA CareerLink System. So it's looking at those one-stop partners, what each one of their roles are, some of the things that each one of those partners can do. And then there's actually even an activity user guide, we call it, that has activities that are embedded into that. You can download it, utilize those activities within your area on how do we build some of those relationships and the partnerships within our own state. But this was created by subject matter experts in all of the WIOA core programs. I know my direct supervisor and then our former supervisor, they were subject matter experts on it for the Title II piece. And then all of those partners work together to create these. The second one is Collaborating for Success, a shared student-centered approach to service delivery. There's 4 modules to that. It takes about 1 hour to complete. And the nice thing is if you ever enrolled on these, you could start and stop whenever you wanted to. And I still go back to them and use them for resources. And when we do cross trainings across the state, we use these online courses to do, we assign some pre-work to the region that we're going to, and then we base our training on those courses. There's another one that's going to be coming out on trauma-informed practices. So we're excited for that one to be finalized and finished. So it was supposed to be done before I came to COAB today, but it's not finished yet. So that's another resource, and that's on that Padlet also. When you click on it, it's going to take you right to that website. Another one is, how do we share our stories of our students with our partners? So when I first took this position, part of policy, it's our policy G100 is what it is. Our programs are required once a year to share with their workforce development board collaborative resource or collaborative efforts that they've put forth to share their students' journeys and share what their programs are doing. So we didn't really have anything to guide our programs with. So with the help of our data project, we put together this, it's a front and back page report that just gives you some different quantitative and qualitative ideas on what to share with your partners. And not only share with your partners, but also share with your legislators, right? We're all into advocating for adult ed. So what kind of information are they looking for? If you're attending Workforce Development Board meetings, what kind of information are you constantly hearing? Because that's what you want to replicate in your report to your board. You know, if they're only talking about entered employment rate, but we go over there and just talk about, you know, how many students we're working with, they want to know how many people are getting a job, right? So just keep in mind when you do attend your workforce board meetings, pay attention to some of those things that are like key things that they're talking about, because that's what you'll want to make sure that you share out to them. Any questions on any of these? This is just some pictures from some of the cross trainings we did. As you can see in the bottom one, that was a very large region, it's our south central region in Pennsylvania. That was only Title I and Title II staff members. So we had a very large turnout. We have a very large region, so there's a lot of Title I and Title II staff there. But that one turned out really well. We were a little hesitant on that one because that's one of the regions that does not work very well together. They all work in their silos, so that term we always hear. The one in the top will be your top left, top right, top left, over here with the ducks. That one was Chester County, and we actually went to them twice. And that training was manned by, or the person who was responsible for bringing that training to the region was a workforce board staff member. They're the ones who said, hey, what do you do? Our programs don't work together. Can you help us? So we went there and did a training, and our theme was keep your ducks in a row. So we always try to do a theme. And actually, I forgot your little compass. The reason for the compass was, what direction is your compass pointing as far as working with your partners? Is it north, strong and aligned? Is it east, moving forward? Is it south, facing challenges? Or is it west, just getting started? So I forgot to add that into our presentation, so I apologize. The one on the far, right, is when we were up in Jonathan's area, and that's where we had representatives not only from Title I and Title II, but we also had Title III staff, we had Title IV staff, and we also had members of the Workforce Development Board there. So that was really awesome to see the representation and to have those people there because they're really vested in making a difference in their regions with cross-training and co-enrollment. So you'll also see on the Padlet that I put an action plan. I was going to print one out, and I thought, well, we probably figured we'd be running over, so we wouldn't maybe not have time. But really think about, look at yourself with your program. What is one thing that we can do within the next week to try and increase our communication with our partners? What is one thing that my team can do within 1 week? You know, if we're administrators of programs, we're not the ones that need to necessarily make those connections, but who is it on our team that needs to make those connections with our partners? And what programs do we need to connect with? Maybe it's going back to the drawing board and looking at that partnership inventory list on the partners that we currently have or the partners that we're missing, and then creating an action step from that. So that's what I put that action plan in there. And then I just have some of the resources that I used. And thank you. I think we're pretty early, are we?
I just wanted to mention, hopefully those of you who are all online have been tracking this, but I put all of the links to all the things in the chat in Whova so that you can access them quickly, and I'll add the overall Padlet link at the bottom. It was in the chat, but it might get lost, so I'll put it all the way at the bottom as well so that you can access it quickly and get all the fantastic resources that Loretta shared. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. 5 minutes early. You're welcome. No, I'm just kidding. Enjoy the last session of the conference and or safe travels as you head back. If you want to chat about working together, if you have questions, if you want, just get in touch with us because you think we're cool and you want to hang out, feel free to come up. I have cards that I'm trying to get rid of. So
Thank you all
thanks,
so much.
everyone.
Thank you.